Hello and good afternoon. It is 12:02 p.m. It is Tuesday afternoon, December 16th, and I am making a remake to this video. Now, what you're seeing here is my new design for my, I guess you want to call it a logo. It's my gorgeous occupational engineering. I did change it. At first it said a leader in innovative solutions for workplace production and efficiency. Then I changed it to the leader in innovative solutions for workplace production and efficiency. And then I heard this voice. It must have come from the divine, of course. This morning when I woke up, I had a message that said, change it to #1 leader in innovative solutions for workplace production and efficiency. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and keep it. I have a lot of confidence and faith in my work and my abilities. And so I feel as though this is appropriate. So, I was sitting here on my bed because there's not a whole lot to do. And I'm not going to be making any calls following up on jobs until tomorrow. I want to give people adequate time enough to receive my resume before I follow up. So I decided to just kind of chill out today. I worked on my resume earlier this morning. Not resume, I'm sorry, my newsletter. My newsletter. I worked on my newsletter earlier this morning, and then I kind of just sat down and listened to some intuitive tarot readings on YouTube. Now I do this on my Kindle on my bed, just because it's something I can do. It helps me pass the time away. Now, mind you, I don't really watch TV, and I do listen to a lot of music in my room, but sometimes that gets boring, and I feel as though there's not a whole lot of things to do but watch it. But some of these videos have my mind thinking, and I had talked about some of these people in the past with the predicament that they put us in. And I am going to be focusing on Terry Collins at the moment. I find it very offensive that she took it upon herself to start making decisions based when she wasn't welcome. She was not welcome into my life. And she has created, with the gang stalking and the direction of my career, which I resent her being a part of, has caused me a lot of problems. And as well as I believe her enforcing her religious views on me as well as my son, has created a lot of problems. In my earliest video, I talked about how in the past, my son seemed very energetic. He seemed full of life. He seemed happier. And now that he's moved in with me, these people do nothing but they destroy lives. They absolutely destroy lives. My son spends a lot of time sleeping. It seems as though he has become very withdrawn in a lot of ways since he moved here and in here. And the reason why is because he does not feel as though he's in the ruler or in the position of his own life. He feels very manipulated, although he will not tell me this. I'm going to ask these people, kindly get out and stay out of my life, okay? I think the reason why they are attracted to me is because of my father's apparition. This is a part of my family and not yours, okay? Now, what I was thinking of, this particular reading was making me feel or kind of reminding me of how a lot of this intense harassment started. Now, I had mentioned that in the 1990s, I was dating Bruce, okay? And I decided not to marry Bruce. I don't know why Bruce. I believe that Bruce made it up in his head because I never made any attempts to connect with Bruce. I never made any attempts to reunite with Bruce. I never acted as if I wanted him, but I do believe that him and Sarah got together and wanted to create problems for me. It might have been an issue where she looked at me and thought, oh, I'm better than her. And I would tell you, most of the times when you're dealing with interracial issues, like for example, a white woman with a disagreement with a black woman, it immediately becomes a racist issue, even though I don't even know this woman, I never met her or anything else. So I would think that a lot of people would take her sides. Now, where is Alita Collins in this? There might be some sort of relationship between this Collins family, Bruce Collins, Terry Collins, and Alita Collins, even though I don't know how. I know that Sean Collins looks similar, like, the dark hair, the dark eyes, to Richard Collins. They might be related. I don't know. Whatever the case is, these people have caused nothing but problems. And, I would say that I made the conscious decision to not have an association with the Collins family, and it was the right decision. These people have affected my son's life in ways where I feel very depressed having him here, mainly because I don't like to see the decline in his behavior and his happiness. And this is what they've done. Okay. And all of this would have been avoided had my mom just would have stayed out of my life. I never wanted the Collins to be a part of my life at all. Okay. So, like I said, maybe Bruce made up this story like I was trying to, I'm trying, trying to fill in the blanks. Maybe he was getting together with Sarah and just wanted to feel like he was attractive. Maybe he just wanted to make it seem like he was desirable or I was after him. I never made any attempts to get involved with him at all. At all. Okay. So I feel very angry about this issue, as well as the Collins participating in it. And more than anything else, I feel angry because my son I feel, has lost interest in things that he used to do. And I want my son to be revived again. I want him to be happy again. And all of this happened, slowly but surely. Okay, I resent the fact that the Collins family tried to convince my son to participate in these sort of bullying campaigns, mainly because there is no association between me and the Collins family. I'm angry that they had anything to do with my career, especially since I never invited them in, and I never wanted to have anything to do with them, and to find out that they not only affected my life, but they affected mine. Now, let me explain all the problems that these people have created. Obviously, they created, along with the kids of 533 and a bunch of unprofessional people in this community who claim to be managers and business owners and whatnot. Okay, they thrashed my reputation. They tried to enforce their religion on me. Okay, I believe what these people did was completely unchristlike and completely unnecessary. I think it's important to know that I did see this particular video that talked about how this particular group of people was very confident in their approach. They really thought that it was an okay thing to enforce their religious views. They felt very confident in what they were doing, okay? And I had told these people several times, I don't know why in the world, after 10 years of being on this channel, after me talking about employment laws as well as biblical reference as their reason, to let them know that this was inappropriate behavior, but they continued on. So any sort of consequence that these people are suffering, they're getting exactly what they deserve. Okay, I don't have any compassion for them. When it comes to freedom of religion, yes, there is freedom of religion in this country. Okay, this is the United States of America. It was established primarily, well, I would say for this reason. Okay, we were meant to have freedom of religion. There is no particular church or religion that is chosen to lead the country. Okay, so we have different Christian denominations. Okay, like we have Jehovah's Witnesses, we have Mormons. So I would say a lot of this country is Christian. However, it is not the state religion. We have Jews here, we have Muslims here, we have all kinds of religions here, okay? And the fact of the matter is you cannot use religion in an employment situation. And unfortunately, these people were on the wrong track. Now, I would say, like I said, I live a very reserved life. And I also look at myself as very spiritual. Okay, what I do with my personal life is none of their business. And I get the intuitive feeling that Terry was trying to prevent me from having relationships outside of the Collins family because she wanted to force me into a relationship with Bruce. I'm assuming perhaps maybe Bruce and Sarah are no longer together. Once again, I am disgusted and repulsed by these people. So the answer is no. Never bother me again, and I would prefer you get out of my son's life as well. Okay. Now, what was I going to say about this? Okay. So I go around with this every day because, for 12 consecutive years, okay, since leaving Murray Family Farms, my life has been an absolute nightmare. Okay. And not only have they affected my career, they have put me in debt. Yes, they have put me in debt from preventing me from having consistent employment. Like, I had to renegotiate my PG&E thing, right? So then their solution is to put me on some sort of dependency with this CPAC program, right? I'm going to tell you right now, I want nothing to do with CPAC. Okay. The fact of the matter is my bills should have been paid because I should have been consistently working. Okay, so then we had to renegotiate that. So right now I have a PG&E balance that I have make arrangements with PG&E, but the fact of the matter is I still owe PG&E an amount of money that I would rather not have owed them. Okay, also my car got repossessed in this issue. Okay, and they took it upon themselves to reduce my credit limit. Okay, before I ended up getting into all of this mess. Okay, so my issue is that these people put their nose in my business, and now I have, I want my credit report clean. I want all of my credit cards debt forgiven because they prevented me from working. And their excuse was it was based on religion. It's based on religion. I am under no obligation to acknowledge your religion whatsoever at all. Okay. And no, I do not want to be a part of mainstream religion. Why? Because religion is obviously the issue that put me here. And like I said, I'm not holding any sort of specific vendetta against individual churches. It just makes sense. Okay. I understand that there was a lot of mind control that went on. Okay. In order to sit here and like create what do you call hostile environments, or trying to make people look at another person a certain way, mind control definitely had to play a big role in this, okay? And so the church is guilty of that, okay? And therefore, I don't want to belong to any religion. I don't need religion to shape my life. Okay, I live a very good life, and most people will acknowledge that. Most people will say, you know what, Maria is I'm very moral. Very moral. Okay. So, like, I don't need people telling me, how I'm supposed to live. I resent it. I absolutely resent it. Okay. So now, not only did they affect my life, they affected my son's life. I deserved compensation a long time ago. Then I also believe that they prevented my son from getting paid on time. I don't know what they were doing. Perhaps maybe they were trying to force my son to pay for, their rent or whatever. I don't know. Okay. But whatever the case is, something illegal was going on. Okay, I was not comfortable with their manipulation of my son's employment and getting his paycheck on time. Okay, it's not about, it's because my son deserves to have a better life than what I had. And the fact is, I avoided having anything to do with the Collins because I wanted my son to have a good life, but they somehow wove themselves into it anyway. And at this stage in his life, they've affected it and made it, very unfavorable. I am not happy with the way my son is right now. Okay, now I love my son very much. I remember when I was living with him at Bell Terrace. I remember when I was living with him at other places. Okay, he was very energetic. He was very optimistic. He had a bubbly demeanor. He was always in a good mood. I see him come home now and all he does is sleep. Okay, that is an indication of somebody who is going through severe depression and also does not feel like there's anything positive going on. That is not acceptable to me. Okay, I want these people out of his life and out of my life. Okay, so something about me being on magazine covers, like I said, I don't know. I know that if you live here on the West Coast, sometimes magazine covers look different than they do on the East Coast. So I have not seen any of them. I keep getting the intuitive message I'm on them. I also get intuitive messages that I get on newsreels. Okay, I cannot see them. What generally gets covered on these newslet reels is people talking about me and me going back to work, me dealing with, these campaign smears, and of course people now, me talking about my looks, right? Which I do resent. I resent this group of people who acknowledge my growth, my spiritual growth, my physical growth, my intellectual growth, and then they sit here and they want to sit here and drag me back down a crab bucket. I will never forgive these people for interfering with my life. I will always hate them. Then they try to prevent me from spending money, okay? So then making me rely on my son to pay bills, okay? Which I resent. Why? Because my son is an adult. He should be working primarily to support himself, to build for his own little empire, and hopefully maybe either date somebody if he wants to get married, or maybe go out with dudes he wants to hang out with and go party, or whatever it is, men do at his age. This is the life he's supposed to be having, not building it around, catering to me. I do appreciate his assistance, however, but I need to remedy this situation as soon as possible. It is not right. Okay, and then we have employers that sit here and comply with this nonsense. And see, this is why I'm saying I am bringing information to the community. That's one of the reasons why I make these videos. It's an introduction not only to my professionalism, but I want to make an impact. I want people to think about the things that they're doing. Okay, the reason why we don't have, people don't talk about retirement, they don't talk about long-term employment. They need to. It needs to get back to where it, where our goals were supposed to be. Okay, I hate working jobs and only staying there a year. I want to be able to establish a long-term career like I should. Okay, I also want to be able to make my own business contacts. Okay, like, these people prevent me from communicating with people. They don't want me to have my friends. They don't want me to have anybody. Okay, because they want to dictate everything. I don't want to be within this religious circle. This message I'm getting right now is that people have been watching Vigilantes Must Go. I'm assuming they might be uploading it on another shadow channel. Also, I am glad that my son is safe, but at the same time, I'm not content with where he is in life. Now, I am not somebody who expects like my son to be a doctor or lawyer or anything like that, but I certainly do not like the fact that my son is 30-something years old and living with his mom. Okay, and then also somebody being a slave driver and expecting my son to deprive himself of the life that he's entitled to have and forcing him into this situation. I hate these people. Okay, I hate them all. Okay, and I have every right to feel this way. And now they made it so that we're struggling. I told my son, you got to pay the rent this upcoming week. It is what it is. Okay, so these people have caused financial hardship to me for no apparent reason. Okay, and the Collins family had no right whatsoever. So this is what I'm talking about when we deal with employers who think it's okay to, get involved with personal issues like family relationships, friendship relationships. That is completely unprofessional. And there's a lot of women who get slighted because they end up working for a family friend. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. And, this is where employment law comes into place. And this is why I'm saying it's like it always ends up bad. I feel as though my work in talking about these issues is important. And yes, I've been well aware of employment laws, studying employment law since I would say the 1990s. So I am more than, more than qualified to talk about this. As a matter of fact, this is exactly the kind of platform that I was trying to establish at Murray Family Farms, the very job that these idiots mobbed me out of. And yes, I hate these people. Okay, I keep saying it because, like I said, every day the frustration builds. The frustration builds, okay? Why? Because it is very demoralizing for me to be in my house every single day. I should be getting up in the morning and going to work. Okay, I am used to work. I am used to working all the time. And no, when I lose a job, I don't like being on unemployment. I want to go right back and get another job. Okay, and I get tired of people enforcing their work ethic and everything else on me. I want Carrie Collins out of my life forever. Okay, do not think that you're entitled to anything of mine. I made it a direct purpose not to have anything to do with these people. Okay, now I love my son, and I'm very frustrated by this situation. Okay, number one, before he lived here, I was living on my own. And I do understand that I keep this intuitive message that people were jealous of my ability to shop. I will tell you the things that I was shopping for were just replacing the stuff that I had to replace when I moved in here. Like, I need new sheets, okay? I either outgrew my particle board furniture, so I had to go buy some more. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. First of all, when it comes to people within neighborhoods and stuff like this, you need to mind your own business. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but here's life, okay? Some people are able to afford things and some people aren't. There are certain people who have swimming pools, stained glass windows and things that I wish I always had, but I don't sit here and try to prevent them from going to work. Grow the fuck up. Okay? I'm also tired of, people thinking that they can use religion. I will tell you, okay? When it comes to the freedom of religion here, and the truth be told, I know that these people were sitting here trying to make it seem like I was wicked, I was dark. There's a lot of Christian denominations who fully 100% acknowledge occult power. And yes, they do, under the Christian faith, okay? I would say a lot of Pentecostals would be those kind of people, the people who talk and speak in tongues, the laying on of hands. And so when it comes to me, I look at myself as being, I would say that I'm probably more aligned with the divine than anyone I've ever met. Okay, and the reason why is because I have not been polluted, I have not been corrupted by any sort of stupid doctrine that is not fitting for me. Okay, let me get ahead and get a message really quick. Okay, something about, okay, this is another message that keeps coming up, and maybe you guys can decipher it, but it's something about planets are just stars above regions of origin. So I was thinking, like, what I think this means is, like, for example, like, you know, if people have a pre-existence in heaven, then it might have something to do with the place setting of that planet above, like maybe if you were from Europe, then your planet is probably above Europe. If you're from Africa or Mexico or whatever, the planet is probably, and why that's relevant, I really don't know. Okay. But anyway, so right now I'm working on my newsletter and I am tired of talking about the same thing. Last newsletter was my attempt to end this situation completely. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Okay. And like I said, I do not want any more signs of targeting. I don't want any more signs of stalking. I don't want any more issues going on with my financial institution. What these people did was absolutely terrible. Okay, the last message I sent to Valley Strong Credit Union, I believe that was back in December. I never once heard from Eric Arias. Okay, so what does that tell me? That these people are not what they should be. Okay, we have a lot of corruption that goes on in this community. Okay, and this is the last time I'm going to mention it. I'm summarizing it in my newsletter. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Okay, I can't tell you how disturbed I am knowing I live in a corrupt community. It's not good. It is not good at all. So, something about my son and my newsletter. And yes, okay, you know, when it comes to my physical appearance, you know, I know that I've walked into several different companies and seen women 10 times more glammed up than me, okay, in the past and in the present moment. Okay, so why is it that I'm always getting singled out? I want people to really start thinking about the brainwashing that they've gone through. Okay, also I'm getting the intuitive message that people are starting to recognize that they want better staff members. Okay, I think there's a lot of business owners here are starting to wake up. This is not how you conduct a business. And don't think that you should be comfortable just because somebody has, you know, they claim to be a 4-year graduate and that they have everything handled. If you're somebody who relies on religion to run a workplace, okay, you're on the wrong track. Now, I would say that my ethics and how I treat people and how I look at people has a lot to do with my spiritual views. However, I do not enforce my spiritual views on other people. The reason why I'm kind and I try to I do what I can to let people express themselves, you know, talk about their grievances or, you know, approach people or speak to people a certain way, that comes from who I am as a spiritual person. Okay, but I in no way sit here and try to enforce my religious views on other people. I don't shove it down their throat. I don't make them feel threatened that if they don't see things my way, they're going to sit here and be homeless or they're going to be bullied out of their job. You know, I made that video a couple days ago because, you know, there's a lot of people who get it in their head. A lot of managers get it in their head that they want to bully people. Okay, and in my situation, I know that they've done this and they brought it out to the public. Like, you know, I talked about retaliation, and I raise my right hand. I will put it on the Bible just to let you know I am dead serious. I am not responsible for any of the conflicts that happened in my workplace. Okay, this is literally the same issue for Murray Family Farms going from one workplace to another. I am proving that this is human trafficking, that I am being stalked, just like the stupid little uniform stunt at BT Trucking. It's like we want to prove our point. You know, we don't want people dressing up nice at work. Look, I was raised this way. Okay. I also, you know, read professional information many, many years ago. I've talked to a lot of people. This is what is acceptable. Okay. I would never hire somebody who shows up on the job wearing sweats and tennis shoes. Okay. I don't look at that as proper work attire. Okay. And that's my choice. So it's like I should have been in an environment that was conducive to my way of living, which to me is a no-brainer. Like when people go to job interviews, I expect people to look their best. You're supposed to make a first impression. Okay. Um, Aside from that, you know, I'm angry because I believe that this particular Sarah and Bruce were working together to bully me. And I think that Bruce was doing this in some way to bolster his self-confidence. Or sometimes men or women, or in general, if they're in a couple, they might sit here and try to act like their ex is after them because they want to appear to be more desirable to their partner than they really are, or they do it out of insecurity. Leave me the hell out of your issues, okay? Do not ever bring me into your fucking problems, okay? I had long forgot about Bruce a long time ago. And that's the truth. Not one person could sit there and say, oh, Maria made an attempt to hold on to a relationship. I never did. Never. Okay? My main focus was to always live here, work, do my job, and everything else. Okay? And I cannot tell you how much I resent this. Okay? So today, I'm extremely bored. I got a little too much time on my hands. Okay? And I'm frustrated because I am in debt that is beyond my control. Okay, I want my bills paid off. I want my credit back. I want my apartment back. I want my son back on his track. I want my son to go back to his own apartment, and I want my son to be happy again. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is something about my quarterly newsletter. I think that they were trying to take control over that. And then something about the churches know that I am, accept me as a non-member, meaning they understand that I don't want to be a member of any church. And they should understand that this is going to be the case with me forever. I don't ever want to be a part of mainstream religion, which I said this. However, like I said, I'm not holding a grudge to where I'm, going to vandalize their property or anything. Churches are what churches are. They've been in existence for a very long time. I expect them to continue on. Okay, but at the same time, I do not expect people to sit here and try to enforce their religion on me ever again. Do not do it. Okay. As far as my enemies, the message I'm getting right now is that many of my enemies are now indifferent, meaning that they're not interested in harming me anymore. Also, it is clear that I am moving on from the people of my past, but the important part to remember is that these evil people left me in this state and acted as if it was not their responsibility. It is their responsibility. I deserved compensation. And had these lawyers in this community not been influenced by these people, I would have been able to get compensation. These people are corrupt. The message I'm getting right now is that I own my newsletter, and that I'm glad that churches accept this. Also, they do understand that, they should have never mentioned anything about my physical appearance at all. Okay, when it comes to the workplace, you do not mention people's physical appearance. And like I said, when it comes to sexual harassment, oftentimes, it is women who are the main bullies in sexual harassment. And of course, we do have where people get set up in, sexual harassment could also be where people are putting you in compromising positions. Like I've never had to deal with a boss, trying to make me do or perform any sexual favors for employment. Thank goodness that's never happened to me. But that is another issue when it comes to sexual harassment. You know what I mean? But my form of sexual harassment was the bullying campaign that took place, and it should have never happened. Okay, and now I'm sitting here at 54 years old. I have been affected. My son has been affected. These people have done too much. And from the information that I'm understanding, my suspicions about what happened with Valley Strong Credit Union are correct. Okay, and like I said, I am summarizing this as well as copies of the email in my newsletter. Okay, I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. Okay, I'm disgusted by these people. I'm sad that these people were looked upon as professional. Now, when it comes to these Bakersfield employers, business owners, it bothers me to a certain degree to knowing that these people were always the first choice to call for jobs, where people like me who make an effort to, number one, show up to work every day. Okay, I go to work every day. If something happens, like, there's been like, a few times, okay, where I had like a headache or something, or like a fever, or didn't feel good to go to work. And I always say, hey, can I work from home? If I can work from home, I'll do that. If I'm not going to be there, I make sure that my assignments always get turned in. I never use the fact that I am not there to not get my stuff done. Okay, I'm always at work on time. I don't, I always do exactly what I'm told to do at my job. Okay, and yet I get passed over for jobs. Okay, why? And these people were making up excuses. Oh, because she looks nice. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. Okay? You're supposed to look nice. Okay? So I was dealing with a lot of female bullies. Okay? And I don't forgive it at all. Okay? So anyway, I hope you guys like my new, I guess this would be called, if I could shrink it, it would be a business card. I'm actually quite pleased with it. At first I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll add an oak tree, or maybe I might add a key, or maybe something. I want something cool on there, okay? But I'm moving away from the swan. I think both of my stuff is separate. So I have my newsletter, and I also have the Gordon's Occupational Engineering. So I'm somebody who talks about spiritual things. And of course, Gordon's Occupational Engineering is 100% about work-related type stuff. Anyway, I hope people like the video presentation, Vigilantes Must Go. And if you have received that video, please feel free to forward that video and share it with as many people as you want, even if they're outside of the state of California. Like I said, you know, California has the best employment laws. Okay, I really do. I love how California has everything covered like under the sun, okay? But maybe other states do not. Now, we do have federal laws, okay? We do have federal laws, but maybe certain states might not want to copy exactly how California is structured. So even if somebody lives in a different state, you can still feel free to forward that over to them, because regardless of what it is, regardless of, I talk about protected classes in this, right? Regardless if it's a fact that it's your race, religion, you might have buck teeth, you might have, you know, you might be autistic, you might be whatever your issue is, okay? Something that puts you apart. You might be a nerd, you might be whatever, okay? It is the manager's responsibility to not make fun of you. It is the manager's responsibility to make sure that you are fully integrated within your team structure. Okay, a manager that points out people's flaws, a manager that sits there and discredits people, a manager that, you know, prevents people from doing their job or isolates a person should not be in these positions. Okay, so that should apply across the board all the way through every all 50 states. Okay, so I mean, I'm very grateful for people who do forward my information to other people. I'm actually thinking about making another presentation. Now, I believe that religion should stay completely out of the workplace. Okay, I don't see anything wrong with people who pray at work. I don't see anything wrong with people who bring in their religious items. Like some people have crosses on in their cubicles or whatever. I don't have anything wrong with that. It's just when people say, hey, you know, you need to do this. But what I was thinking about doing was making another educational video and sending it to churches. Why? Because some churches maybe encourage their members to behave this way. And if a church is sitting here trying to enforce their religious views onto other people who do not belong to that denomination, this is what I think a lot of people might mistakenly do, okay? Their worldview only revolves around church. They need to understand that those are not the laws that we bring into the workplace. You can conduct yourself based on your religion, but you do not enforce your religion on other people, okay? This is what people need to understand. Like your behavior, you know, how you interact with people, this is a part of how you are. And just like me, like I believe that people should have the right to discuss what's on their mind. They should have the right to, I in turn am supposed to be polite to these people. Why? Because that's my spiritual belief. Okay, so I act accordingly based on how I believe. But at the same time, I don't expect other people to follow the way or see God the way that I do. And see, this is where the big issue is. This is why I don't care what these people say. When they talk about how educated they are, all that shit goes in one ear and out the other because you prove that you're not. Do not bring your religion into the workplace. I'm telling you this to save your own reputation. Because if you make a mistake, right, and do that too many times and you create a hostile environment, don't be surprised if you get sued. Okay? So anyway, what else do I want to say? Yes, I control my newsletter. Something about my son is thinking about me right now. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video right now. I hope my information, my contact information is on this video. I'm using it just to show you guys what it is, what it looks like. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my ability to design. Now, this is nothing major, but I'm content with it. I'm patting myself on the back. I'm proud of it. Okay. Anyway, I do believe I am the #1 leader in innovative solutions for workplace production and efficiency. And I hope to get back to work as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.